I know you've noticed, obviously we've noticed, but it does look like home prices are coming down. We're going to tell you whether or not that's the truth and give you the top three reasons why it does appear that home prices are falling. Hi, everybody. I'm Evan Fitzgerald alongside Vittoria Logli. We
Hi.
are brokers with App Properties. This is a really interesting list, I think, because Vittoria, people are really focused on this right now. And there are a lot of reasons why, and people want to know what's happening here. Is a bubble bursting?
Right.
Is the
People are
housing market
scared.
going to
Is there
come
going to be a
crashing
crash?
down, right?
Right. Right. To be clear, this is very different than when we had our last recession during the housing crash. The housing crash caused the recession, in 2008. This is very different. We're not in that same realm here. And I think people sort of need to just readjust.
All right. And so our number one reason why home prices are falling is going to really tie into that really well. It is the asking price mirage. And
Yes.
I'll let you explain this, but the bottom line here is when people are seeing list prices falling, that doesn't necessarily mean that home values are dropping. So explain that for people.
Absolutely. So what we were seeing during this frenzy, people were just throwing money and doing multiple offers, and the prices kept going up, 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 and up, right? And sellers were kind of pushing the market. So they would take the highest comp and then add 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 for the list price, right? List price is not sale price. There's two different things. So what we're seeing now is, that sort of funny money, that hysteria and that frenzy has really calmed down. And so a property can go on the market and the seller can be trying to push the price. And if they push the price too much, because interest rates have risen too, right? They're not going to get that price necessarily. The inflation has already been built in, but so then they're needing to do the decreases in the list price to actually sell the property. But that doesn't mean the value of the home has gone down. We've seen 20% increases over the last 18 months, and they're still, saying that we're going to see a 6 to 8% increase in the future. So the actual home values are not going down. It's just the mirage of the
Yeah.
pricing because it's been so inflated.
And we were talking about what's the best way to describe that. And I think mirage is the perfect word because as you see those list prices sort of go up and up, and as you see the actual home values not go down, but sort of level off a little bit or
Right.
see those increases slow
Stabilizing.
down, you see that gap between the asking prices and the home values grow, right? There's that big gap between where the list price is and where the value of the home is. So as the list price is coming down, it looks like the home values are being depressed, but reality, those list prices are just coming back down into a more realistic range to where they should
Without
be.
a doubt. Without a doubt. And as a home seller now, you really need to listen to your agent on selling, on pricing, right? You can't just take the last highest comp. If your neighbor's house sold for 800, you can't put yours on for 900. It doesn't work that way anymore. And you really should listen to your agent on pricing. Because otherwise you're just going to sit on the market and then there's going to be that mirage that the value is coming down, and it really is not. It just should have been priced, we'll say, at like 800 all along,
And then it can be sort of a vicious cycle too, because once that property sits, because it was priced at that high
Yes.
level, then people start saying, well, what's wrong with it? Because
Right.
properties that are priced more competitively are still going quickly, and sometimes they are still going with multiple offers. We've
Yes.
seen that. So
It, right.
it's more and more critical to really nail it the first time with pricing, maybe more so than it has been in quite a while, because in the spring it was almost like it didn't matter. Whenever price the house was listed at, you had 10 people knocking on the door on day one, and we're just not at that place anymore.
Absolutely. Right. We're still seeing multiple offers. I mean,
Right.
we put a house on the market last week. We priced it right in that sweet spot. We got two offers and I sold it within 3 days. And that was $1 million property.
Right.
So it's still an active market. It definitely is.
So our second factor right here is the interest rates affordability factor. And you sort of touched on it there, but for people who are out looking, let's say somebody who's been looking for several months, and there are a lot of people because of the frenzy of the
Right.
spring when, it was really difficult. There were multiple offers on most properties and people felt like no matter what they did, they were getting outbid. So there were people that have been looking for quite some time. And in that, over those months, now interest rates have crept up and up and up. And so some people aren't looking in the same price range that they were when
Right.
this all started because interest rates have lowered, what
Yeah.
they can afford.
Their monthly housing costs, right? So if you were looking, we'll say in the $600,000 range in the spring, and now interest rates have gone up a couple of percentage points, you're really now only really going to be able to afford maybe 500.
Yeah.
So that's an adjustment to make. But I would say there are ARM options right now. Actually, my one of my lenders texted me this morning, 5-year ARM, 7-year ARM, 4.65. So you can still get some good rates, and you can always refinance.
Yeah.
When we purchased, we were at 6.5%. I know that was 18 years ago, but we refinanced when the interest rates came down. And as long, there's no balloons anymore. And that's what sort of, an ARM is different than a balloon. There's no more balloon products. And that's where you get in really big trouble. An ARM is basically after 5 or 7 years, if you haven't refinanced, it adjusts to the current market rate for interest rates, right? It's not a balloon, so it's not like it's a couple percentage points on top of that. It just adjusts to the current market rate. So don't be afraid of ARMs.
And we just did a video, hopefully people watched it, where we
Yeah.
we talked to a mortgage broker and got his sense of where things were going. And he sort of felt like as we move forward, there will come a point where these interest rates will sort of come back down a little bit. So there is the opportunity that, if you end up with a higher rate now, you can still refinance, a year or 2 years down the road and get
Without
back
a doubt.
a little bit to closer to where we've been over the last few years. But we were at such historically low rates that, we may not see that again in our
Right.
lifetimes because of how low things were.
Exactly. And I do think it's important to talk to your realtor, talk to your mortgage broker, and sort of, run some different scenarios when you're
Yeah.
looking to purchase a house, because property taxes will play into it. If there's an assessment, in an association that you might be living in or something, like all those things can play into your, net output, what your net expense for your housing. So having your team together to help you through this and figure out what you can actually afford, I think is really important as a home buyer.
And so our number three, fatigue. And listen, I don't blame anybody who feels like, all right, I have to take a breath here after the roller coaster that we've been on since basically February, I would say, where the market got so hot and so competitive. And then right after that, we saw interest rates do what they've done. It has just been a roller coaster for people. I get it. I get why people feel like I need to take a breath here and take a step back and assess things, and then I'll move forward in a little bit because it has
Right.
been really crazy.
So, right, it's not that the market's come down. It's just that there are a few buyers maybe looking right now because they do have fatigue and they're like, we need a break, we need to
Right.
breathe. We've lost out on 2, 3, 4 houses, and we can't do this anymore. They sort of have post-traumatic stress that they need to get over. But I would say, like, let's jump back in the fall because that's a great
Yeah.
time. If you're not tied to the schools or school starting, that's a great time to look for houses.
Yeah, when you pull the numbers, and this is a national number, so it isn't specific to
Right.
our area, but I think it is fairly reflective. End of October is sort of what they say is kind of the sweet spot between inventory not being too low, like we see
Right.
kind of in the winter, where people are kind of bunkered down, hunkered down, and sort of like, okay, I'll wait for the snow and ice to melt before I deal with this. And the spring and summer, where things really start to or tend to seasonally heat up. So that is really kind of an opportunity for people to I don't want to say sneak in there, but if
Yeah.
others aren't looking necessarily, it's a great opportunity to get out there and see what might be available because prices might be a little bit more reasonable than they would have been, in the spring and summer.
Without a doubt. So that really, points to the seasonality of things. And that's sort of where we're getting back to is a seasonal
Yeah.
market. If you're looking for a deal, I'm telling you, between Thanksgiving and New Year's, that's when you're going to get your deal. That's when you pull the trigger on a house. If you really want a deal, because if those sellers are on the market between Thanksgiving and New Year's, they have to sell. They have to sell, right? Who the hell wants their house on the market during the holidays unless you have to sell? So there's a tip for you buyers that if you really are looking for a deal, that might be a good time.
All right. Hopefully, this was helpful for everybody. And listen, if you have questions for us,
Yeah,
comments, if there's anything that you heard from us that you want to know more about, make sure you go down to the comments and ask us about them because we'd love to interact with you and help you out as best you can. And
absolutely.
obviously,
Or
you can reach
yeah,
out to us by email any way that you want. You can call us, obviously. Please do because we'd love to help.
So comments below if we missed anything or if you have any questions.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm Evan
Thanks,
Fitzgerald. That's Vittoria
Vittoria
Logli.
Logli.
We'll see you the next time.
Take care.